Hi, Andrew from SACS. In a recruitment process, can you tell whether somebody is likely to be inclusive or intolerant? The answer is yes, you can tell whether somebody's likely to be like this, and you do so through a measure called attitudes towards diversity. This is a brief video to explain what high scores on attitudes towards diversity mean. These are the 4 things that we measure in the SACS attitudes towards diversity scale: gender, ethnicity, age, and disability. And you'll see some example questions there that are used in this measure. An attitudes towards diversity scale measures the degree to which people feel that they've had negative experiences with any of these forms of diversity. The questions are pretty straightforward. Usually they're questions associated with, would you report to a female supervisor, or have you had problems with people with ethnic backgrounds in the past? Those kinds of things. So let's look at an example. This is example number 1. So what you'll see is that this person is average in terms of gender and low in terms of age and disability, but quite high in terms of ethnicity. And you'll see this score is 61. So what does that score mean? Well, 50 in this type of score is population average and 10 is a standard deviation. Now, without boring you too much with the stats of all of this, when a person is 10 above or below a standard deviation, so 60 and above or 40 and below, what that means is that they're a long way from average. In this particular measure, high is bad. So 61 is more than a standard deviation above population average in comparison with people on average in Australia and New Zealand, as derived from thousands of people who've completed this instrument. So what that means is this person is less tolerant of ethnicity than most people in Australia and New Zealand. So the importance of these measures is that we do know that they do correlate to a certain extent with behaviours. So when people have this negative attitude towards ethnicity, they may well be less inclined to help people who come from a different ethnic background. And the same goes for gender and disability and age. Now, in Australia, we hear a lot that Australia is a racist nation, and my answer to that would be every nation is a racist nation. Sadly, racism and intolerance generally is a species-specific behaviour to human beings. Human beings are, in general, intolerant of people who are different from them. Now, that is lessening over time, and certainly one of the things that seems to correlate with the ability to be inclusive is the degree to which you experience other people who have that degree of diversity. So, in the case of ethnicity, if you come from a country which is very convergent in terms of the ethnic types that you interact with on a day-to-day basis, so I only interact with people who are ethnically like me, not surprisingly, you're more likely to be racist. Now, we get a lot of questions about people from certain ethnic backgrounds because recruiters who recruit a lot notice that certain ethnicities seem to throw up high scores on attitudes towards diversity, particularly ethnicity. And in fact, it's almost always the countries that are very convergent, where they don't have much ethnic diversity. Now, one of the things that we know about the history of ethnic diversity in Australia is that if you measure the tolerance of people who are 60 plus versus people who are 20, you'll find that people who are 20 tend to be way more inclusive than people who are 60. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Reason number 1, of course, there's been an enormous educational emphasis over the last couple of decades to make people more inclusive. But the simple fact is that when I grew up, ethnic diversity just was not a thing. You know, you tended to grow up in relatively ethnically vanilla types of environments. And so you didn't have the sort of experience that, for instance, my daughter had, where she went to school and had experience of going to school and building friendships with people from all over the world. So that's attitudes towards diversity. You should measure this on the way into your organisation because people who are more inclusive are likely to act in a more positive way to people who are different from them. And we also know that there's strong research evidence to indicate that diversity gives rise to commercial success as well as levels of engagement and well-being within organisations. If you'd like to find out more about the measures that we've mentioned in this video, please don't hesitate to click on the link near this video or come to the SACS website and we'll help you out.